desert, animals have had millions of years to adapt to the harsh environment. But the lizard? He's going to die.
I mean, that's a perfect way to sum up that movie. It's like that riff I did yesterday for so much for so little. You know, when the narrator goes like, 118,481 of those 2 million people will die before reaching their first birthday. It's just like, that's the way you hook your audience in there by saying, you're going to die in a certain amount of time. But, welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the 6 films of March 4th, 2011. And like I said, we actually have more than one good movie. Case in point, our first film, the biggest new release of the weekend, which is, of course, Rango. And in the story of Rango, it's a film where you have this chameleon, voiced by Johnny Depp, who accidentally ends up in the town of Dirt, an outpost that's in desperate need of a new sheriff. And essentially the plot of the movie is your kind of Three Amigos that's plot where, you know, he's lying and basically he has to become a hero, and they're going to find out who he is in real life. They're going to have the breakup, and then they got to come back to save the day. And yeah, this movie is pretty much a generic movie in terms of its story, but everything else about it is just so damn good. This is one of my favorite movies Nickelodeon has ever done. This is a movie that is just so well done, and it works because it's unlike any animated movie you've ever seen before. It's a smart, surreal, and fun animated film that doesn't just appeal to the kids like the marketing is trying to do, but adults get a kick out of it. It's the first computer animated film outside of a Pixar movie that I can tell in a while that I've seen that adults, I think, will enjoy more than the kids will. I mean, Depp's given some of his best work as Rango here. I think he's playing it very well here. He's just so good here. You have a great cast that also includes Isla Fisher, Bill Nighy, Abigail Breslin, Alfred Molina, Harry Dean Stanton, Tim Oliphant, Stephen Root, Ned Beatty. Tim Oliphant is playing a character that I was kind of surprised actually kind of worked as well as it did, but he's essentially playing Clint Eastwood for a few dollars more, like in those Sergio Leone spaghetti western type of movies. That's the character he's playing in this, and yeah. It shouldn't work, but goddamn, it actually does work really well here. The visuals overall are really impressive. The motion capture is well done here. They shot all the scenes with the actual actors on a set, and they animated it. I mean, it's weird, because, you know, Robert Zemeckis and his team have been making these motion capture movies like Polar Express and A Christmas Carol, and yet it can't make Marcy's Mom look like a better movie than it's going to when we take a look at it in a couple of weeks, but the people who worked on this film got the motion capture technology not just to work, but work really well and seamlessly well. I mean, Gore Verbinski outdid Robert Zemeckis. Think about that. And for an animation debut, just like what Zack Snyder did with Legend of the Guardians not too long ago, this is some of his best work ever. I mean, I'm not a big Pirates of the Caribbean fan, but I think this is up there with some of his best works, if not his best work yet. There is a lot of good stuff in here. A lot of great homages to the great spaghetti westerns of all time. A great action sequence between two mountaintops. A scene with Hunter S. Thompson from Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Like, I can't believe they threw that in there. And they didn't put this album in 3D. That's the thing that really surprised me about this, because I feel like this movie could have played so well in 3D, and yet they didn't do it. And it still looks incredible. And the trailers did a good job of not spoiling a damn thing about this movie. A majority of the stuff they showed in the trailer only happens in either the first half of the movie or very briefly in the final sequences of the film. And that's great. I love the fact that they have this movie where the trailers don't really give much away, and you have to go in to figure out what this movie is all about. Well, like I said, the story isn't the best overall. It's not the most clever one, but this is a movie that just works so well on so many levels. It's unlike any animated film I've ever seen before, and it works on every single level. There's not a point where it lags or gets boring. It works on every single level. I can't recommend this one enough. You can see why this one won Best Animated Feature, because when you see the rest of the animated films that come out in 2011, this one easily took the cake for the Best Animated Film of the year. Like, in a year where Pixar had their worst movie, where Warner Brothers had Happy Feet 2, which was definitely a major step down compared to the previous film. I mean, this is a good movie that really, really deserved to win this Oscar. I mean, it is the best of the best. I can't recommend this one enough. Rango, if you have not seen it, seek this movie out. So yeah, with all that said, let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that's Matt Damon and Emily Blunt in the sci-fi thriller, The Adjustment Bureau.
That's Grace.
You challenged me in those suits? David Norris is about to see something that no one is supposed to see. Hey, what are you doing? Grab him.
What is going on?
We're being chased. We're the people who control control your destiny. Once you know their secret, your path through the world is hopefully but adjusted. You become their target. You weren't ever supposed to see her again. This plan. If you stay with her, not only kills your dreams, it kills her. Why do you people care who I love? You can't outrun your fate, David. I don't care what you put in my way. I'm not giving up. We tried to reason with you. The Adjustment Bureau, PG-13.
Here we come back to, not bad, but not great either in terms of a film. This is The Adjustment Bureau, written and directed by George Nolfi, who's making his directorial debut after writing not a good assortment of movies, Timeline, Ocean's 12, but he did follow up with, his last thing he did was The Bourne Ultimatum, so he did get better, essentially. And he's reteaming with Matt Damon again, who plays an ambitious young congressman who finds himself entranced by a beautiful black ballerina played by Emily Blunt. But mysterious forces are conspiring to prevent their love affair, including characters played by John Slattery, Michael Kelly, and Terrence Stamp, called The Adjustment Bureau. And it's based off of a Philip K. Dick novel, and like I said, the movie isn't bad per se. It just doesn't really wow me like most people I think are going to want to go into this movie thinking it's going to do. Like, I watched the movie and I was just like, okay, where's that moment that I'm supposed to be like, wow, this is amazing? And I never really got that from this movie. It just kind of felt like the pieces were there for something good, but it never reaches that nth level to where the film should be really delivering on the promises that it's giving you. And it just doesn't show in this movie, unfortunately. The performances are good. I think everybody in here plays their parts very well. You do buy into the chemistry between Matt Damon and Emily Blunt, and you do see the threat of this Adjustment Bureau with Anthony Mackie, John Slattery, and Terrence Stamp in there. I think I said Michael Kelly was one of the guys in there, but I think he's actually the Matt Damon's boss or something like that. It's been a while since I've seen this movie, but from what I remember from it, it's a film that almost gets to that level where it's just like, okay, this may be one of the best, this may be another great movie for this weekend, but it never reaches that point. It's not a bad movie. It's just one of these sci-fi films where you can tell that there's something great here going on, and it never reaches that potential that it should. It's a shame, man, because, like I said, it's not a bad movie, but it definitely is a film that should have been so much better than it actually was. At least, in my opinion, it was. But, you know what? I'll gladly take this movie over the next couple of movies we've got here, because here comes the crap once again, continuing to prove that 2011 has not been the strongest year for movies. Here's Alex Pettyfer coming off of I Am Number 4, and Vanessa Hudgens. Also, Mary-Kate Olsen. Is it Mary-Kate Olsen or Ashley? I think it's Mary-Kate in Beastly.
Most popular guy in school.
Beautiful people get it better. That's just the way it is.
Hardly even noticed her.
It's nice to finally meet you after 3 years.
Until something changed him.
You have a year to find someone to love you, or stay like this forever.
Pretty gruesome, huh?
I've seen worse.
Do you want to go somewhere with me?
Vanessa Hudgens, Alex Pettyfer.
You were the most beautiful man I have ever met.
Beastly, rated PG-13, in theaters March 4th.
Yeah, clearly he's that ugly that no girl would ever want to bang him. Yeah, keep telling yourself that. Plus, like I said before, it's a twofer for this company because it's a CBS Films film, and you know what CBS also made? Beauty and the Beast, that show with Linda Hamilton and Ron Perlman back in the 1980s, which surprisingly is actually really good. It doesn't do what the Disney movie does. It brings Beauty and the Beast into a modern setting, and you do buy the chemistry between Linda Hamilton and Ron Perlman as the Beast. It's a show you might want to check out. It doesn't get as much attention as it does, but I was actually kind of surprised how much I enjoyed it. And of course, not too long after this, the CW would actually reboot that show and do it much better than this movie did, which is a mix of Beauty and the Beast, the 80s show, with Twilight, because it's Twilight times, and we gotta copy that formula. And yeah, here's your plot right here. At the Buxton's Academy High School, the wealthy, arrogant, narcissistic, and bigoted Kyle Kingston is a student who does not respect his classmates. When Kyle's elected representative for the students, he plays a prank on the outcast Kendra, played by Mary-Kate Olsen in what would be her final film role, who has a reputation as a witch. He invites her to a party and humiliates her in front of their classmates. However, Kendra curses him with a spell that makes Kyle as ugly as his soul. Further, she tells him that if he does not find anyone who loves him within a year, he will be doomed to that appearance forever. Yeah. All he has to do is show him the money and to show him the fact that he's very wealthy and, you know, women will come to him. I mean, this really is not that big of a deal. When Kyle's father, Rob Kingston, played by Peter Krause of 6 Feet Under fame, thought it was Neil Patrick Harris for a second because he is in here, sees him. He takes Kyle to specialist, but the doctors don't know what to do. So Rob hides Kyle in an apartment with a maid and a blind tutor. When Kyle sees his mate Lindy on the street, played by Vanessa Hudgens, he saves her from a dangerous drug dealer and he brings her to his apartment to protect her. Now his only hope is that Lindy will fall in love with him. And yeah, you could pretty much see in that premise what the problems with this movie is. This is literally Twilight meets Beauty and the Beast, and not in a good way. There's too good of a cast in this movie to really make this thing what they want to do here. And it's not just the people I mentioned. Neil Patrick Harris is the blind guy in here. He's good in here. Lisa Gay Hamilton, a decent actress. Dakota Johnson, like, people always give her a bad rap because she was in the 50 Shades movies, but she is more than a good actress. I mean, I've seen it in so many other things, like that show Ben and Kate she did with, who was it, Nate Faxon, I think it was. It was either Nate Faxon or, who else? I gotta see here. I know this is dead air stuff, but where is it? Come on. It's so bad that... Oh, here it is. Ben and Kate is what it's called. Yeah, Nate Faxon was in it. It was a good show on Fox, but it sadly got cut after one season, and I say sadly because Fox had a good comedy lineup back in the day with that show, The Mindy Project, New Girl. The only one that was really not that great was Raising Hope, which I know a lot of people like that show. I was never a fan. I like My Name is Earl, which is made by the same people who made that show and Yes Dear, but yeah, that show just wasn't for me. But my point here is that there's too good of a cast in here for this film to be this terrible. And it is a terrible movie. It is literally Twilight meets Beauty and the Beast, and not even in a good way. They make it seem like first of all, you can't buy into the fact that this guy looks that ugly that no go would ever want to bang him. Like I said, all he needs to do is show him the money, like show him the fact that he's got millions of dollars, and they'll be just like, oh, here's my panties, let's go bang, like that type of thing. And it's just like, yeah, if there was a hook to that, maybe you could make it work, but no. All this is just a bad mix of Twilight meets the 80s Beauty and the Beast, and it just doesn't work very well at all. Now, the 2012 CW show I was just talking about is a far better adaptation of Beauty and the Beast than this pile of garbage was, because this was a pile of garbage. And don't worry, folks, because we're not done with the Twilight knockoffs in March of 2011, because we've got another one 2 weeks from now with Red Riding Hood. Or maybe next week. I don't know. Maybe, hey, we'll find out at the end of the show whether it's coming out. But it's coming out between this week, or is the next week, or the week after that. But yeah, we're not done with these knockoffs just yet, and we've got plenty more to come in the future, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, Beastly, yeah, the only thing that's ugly is this fucking movie, man. Avoid this one like the plague. So, hey, here's some more crap for you. Take Me Home Tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Knowing how. Yeah, come on.
Are you going to Kyle Masterson's party tonight?
We're going to that party. I'm finally getting her phone number.
Let's see what you got, boy. Straight out of Compton, a brother with his finger on his
Could be worse. It couldn't be any worse. Wow, wrong again.
Take Me Home Tonight. Rated R. In theaters March 4th.
Yeah, Take Me Home Tonight. Yeah, I'll take it home and then I throw it into the dumpster like a prom night dumpster baby. Hey, if it has the same voice as Seth MacFarlane, that might actually be worth something. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch the Family Guy joke about that. But Take Me Home Tonight. This is a movie that, as I said before, was shot back in 2007 and didn't get a full release until 2011. And you can tell because Dan Fogler is in this movie, and they were making a big deal about him becoming the next big star around that time, and needless to say, that didn't work. Plus, you can look at people like Chris Pratt and Anna Faris, and definitely look at where they were in 2007 to where they were at that point in 2011, and clearly realize that, yeah, this movie was not made in the last year. But, this is hey, it also helps that you have the writers of That 70s Show, and, Kelso was in the movie. Was it Kelso that Topher Grace played? Eric Foreman. I haven't seen That 70s Show in a while, but the people who did write for That 70s Show wrote for this movie. And Topher Grace stars as this recent college graduate who wants to change his career plans after his old high school crush, played by Teresa Palmer, invites him to a party. And chaos and hilarity ensues. And don't let the title fool you, because that song, Take Me Home Tonight by Eddie Money, is nowhere in this movie. Even though it's all over the trailers and on the Blu-ray and DVD, it never appears in the film. So why the fuck is it even called Take Me Home Tonight? But, yeah, this movie sucks. This was a type of film that you could tell, like I said, it was shot several years ago, and it actually was supposed to be released by Universal, but then it didn't. But then they decided to drop it, and the film essentially was later moved over to Relative Media's Rogue Pictures, which was eventually sold off from Universal to 20th Century Fox. So this has gone through different studios, and it has not gotten better over time. It's basically just a knockoff Hot Tub Time Machine, even though this was made 4 years before Hot Tub Time Machine was even a thing. Like, that's how bad this movie was. It wasn't funny. It wasn't clever. It's a lazy film. It just doesn't work overall. It's a really lackluster comedy that has nothing of value whatsoever. It's a terrible movie. It's the type of film that probably should have been dumped in January, but no. Rogue Pictures really thought this was going to be the big comedy hit of the year. Hey, we saw what happened with Hot Tub Time Machine a year ago. Clearly we're going to find success here, and no. No, you're not. There is good news, though. This director, Michael Dowse, did go on to make some good movies. His next film, which came out the same year, was a much better movie. Sean William Scott and Jay Baruchel in the hockey comedy Goon. And this is the guy that recently just did 8-Bit Christmas, which is one of the best new Christmas classics that we've had. Maybe the best Christmas film of the last decade, of this decade of the 2020s. And we'll certainly get to those later on down the road. But this film, yeah, not so much. You can avoid this one like the plague. So let's get back to some, maybe not good movies, but certainly some intriguing films. Kevin Smith taking on a horror film this time around with his newest film, Red State.
I see your face, Jesus. On my way this night. In my sleep.
So in the movie Red State, you have this teenager named Jared who invites his best friends Travis and Billy Ray to have a foursome with a 38-year-old woman. While driving to meet the woman, Travis hits a car parked on the road, and when they meet the woman, she gives spiked beer to them and they pass out. When the three friends wake up, they find that they are trapped in the fundamentalist Five Points Trinity Church of the infamous Pastor Avon Cooper, and that they will be killed. Meanwhile, the church is under siege by ATF agents led by Agent Joseph Keenan that has been ordered to destroy the terrorist cell. Will the teenagers be saved by the agents or the law enforcement agency, or is there something more going on? Now, this film was controversial at the time because what had happened was that Kevin Smith was going to auction off the rights to this film immediately at the Sundance Film Festival, but he instead decided that he was going to self-distribute the film himself under Smodcast Pictures with a traveling show in Selected Cities. So kind of similar to what Francis Ford Coppola is doing right now with Megalopolis, which, needless to say, this is a much better movie than Megalopolis was. And this film was a film that was very interesting. Unlike the last thing that Kevin Smith did, which was Cop Out, which was just a complete fucking mess of a movie, this film, it's an interesting film. It's an intriguing film. It's a film I'll give him credit for tackling a genre that's not really up to his norm. I'm not going to say it's the greatest movie ever of his, but it is an intriguing film nonetheless. It does feel like a film where you could tell that he was trying to do something very unique and different with it. Kind of like a film version, kind of like the closest thing we'll get to a film biopic about Waco in 1993, the ambush there. And I give him credit for what credit's due. I think it is a solidly made film, a competently made film, a film that is definitely going to polarize a lot of people when they see it. It's definitely something unique and different from Kevin Smith overall. I think everybody in here plays their parts very well. John Goodman, I think, is very good in here playing the special agent. Yeah, Melissa Leo, Michael Parks, Kyle Gallner, who's gone on to star in movies like Smile, Carrie Bishy from Scrubs, Stephen Root, Michael Angario. Funny fact, though, Ben Affleck actually liked this movie so much that he actually got a couple of people from the film to be in Argo, which later came out the following year. And hey, if it wasn't for this movie, I don't think he would have casted him in there. I mean, he probably would have, but I mean, overall, yeah, it's definitely a film that's going to be very much questioned by a lot of people. It's going to be a very polarizing film, but I, for one, really enjoyed it. I thought it was actually really good for what he was trying to accomplish here. I don't think it's fantastic work, but it certainly is a lot better than I think people would have let on. I think it's a film that definitely shows a lot more effort into it, being put into for Kevin Smith, of all people, who's been mostly known for the comedies that he's done. And considering his last couple of films have been mostly mainstream films, it's nice to see him go back into something very indie, but indie-esque, and something that clearly was made with his own money. He put a lot of effort into this on his own merits, and I think he made it work for what it was. It's a very polarizing film, but I kind of enjoyed it. I think it's a film that's definitely very much a film that's going to be very much polarized by a lot of people. Not many people are going to love it, but I, for one, kind of enjoyed it. Not a great film, but I think it's going to be better than most people would make you believe it is. So that's Red State. So let's go ahead and move on to our last movie, and that is Happy Thank You, More Please.
You're worth it.
Let's be people who deserve to be loved, who are worthy. Go get yourself loved.
You're my best friend.
With gratitude, the universe is eternally abundant. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. More, please?
Who knew Ted Mosby could be a solid director? I mean, this is probably not his best of his 2 movies that he did, because sadly he's only done 2 movies, but he certainly left on a high note with his next film he did, Liberal Arts, and we'll get to that one later on. But this movie is essentially, you got a story of a group of young New Yorkers struggling to balance love, friendship, and their encroaching adulthood. As you see in the trailer, Malin Ackerman's got cancer. Josh Radnor's trying to get with Kate Mara. You have Zoe Kazan in here, Paula Scribner, Tony Hale. A solid cast overall in here, and you could definitely tell Josh Radnor's trying to channel his inner Woody Allen with this movie, and I think it works enough. I don't think it's a fantastic film, but it's definitely a film that should be checked out to see what this guy can do as a director, because he's made 2 movies, and I think his second film is definitely a lot better, but this one is a really solidly made film. It's a film I was actually really surprised I enjoyed it as much as I did. I think it's a very entertaining movie that works with the cast that it has to work with. It has flaws to it, mostly that not every story in the movie is that intriguing. The characters themselves, they're interesting enough, but their story isn't really well thought out as much as other stories in particular. I think more time would have been nicely put together for like the Malin Ackerman storyline about her dealing with the cancer and all that, and Josh Radnor as Kate Mara blending having that chemistry together. I don't really think is fully there per se, but it's not that the film isn't bad by any means necessary. It's a film that's definitely trying, and it's a film that I think does work well enough to recommend. I think it's a very solid film, and it should give you kind of a prelude to the film that I think he does the next year, which is the far better film in Liberal Arts, which I think is a much better movie in general. We'll take a look at that one in 2012, but Happy Thank You More Please is one I highly recommend checking out. It's a solidly made film. Not everything about it works, but as it is, I like it. I thought it was pretty good.
We now know that meteors will land off the coast.
Evacuations are now underway.
It appears that there's some shadowy figures. Lucas, if you could just come back, please.
When you invade a place for its resources, you wipe out the indigenous population. Right now, we are being colonized. Rated PG-13.
Excuse me. Yeah, this is why I don't chug. Yeah, that was completely pointless, but just like this weekend, welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the 3 films, in quotation marks, of March 11, 2011. They're called films, but I'd like to consider them steaming piles of garbage, because, yeah, every single one of these movies is absolutely horrible. Case in point with our first film, Battle Los Angeles, in which you have a Marine Staff Sergeant, played by Aaron Eckhart, who leads a platoon of U.S. Marines joined by other stranded military personnel defending Los Angeles from an alien invasion. Now, if you remember the movie Skyline from back in November, there was a controversy going on between the Strauss brothers, Greg and Colin. Still recovering from that, but from the drink, by the way. But they were hired to do visual effects work on Battle Los Angeles, but they also were using the same type. But they were also making their own Los Angeles-based alien film in Skyline, which was supposed to compete with Battle Los Angeles and use the resources they had gained while working on the film without the consent of Sony Pictures. And so, spokesman for the Strauss said that any claims of impropriety are completely baseless. This is a blatant attempt to Sony to force these independent filmmakers to move a release date that had been long set by universal relativity and is outside of the filmmakers' control. And then Sony initiated arbitration against Hydraulic and the Strauss brothers, and then later dismissed the arbitration. I think they realized that this was not a case they really wanted to get into, because both of those movies are fucking terrible. And yeah, this is just as bad, if not worse, than Skyline, because this is literally just District 9, except with an even bigger blown-up budget. And this is Sony Pictures ripping off District 9. They released District 9 under TriStar. This is like if the producers of that movie came to the producers of Battle Los Angeles came to District 9 and say, "Hey, can I copy your homework? Okay, yeah, but change some things around so it doesn't look like you're cheating." And they failed miserably at that because, yeah, you could take all the places out of District 9 and literally put it in this movie. That's exactly what Battle Los Angeles is. A steaming pile of garbage that's just ripping off District 9 and just failing miserably at it. And it's just not a good movie. The visuals are just so terrible. Like, this is like a Michael Bay Transformers movie, except Michael Bay is nowhere near this film whatsoever. And they're not doing a good job of making this thing look any kind of realistic whatsoever. It doesn't even look good for a video game. I mean, this thing looks terrible. Terrible. Like, the visuals are terrible. It takes itself way too seriously. Like, this is way too serious for a film that should be stupid fun all across the board. This needed to be like Starship Troopers on that type of a level. But this movie is just so ridiculously stupid. It's way too long. This cast is completely wasted in here. You got Aaron Eckhart, Bridget Moynihan, Neo, Michael Pena, Michelle Rodriguez, Ramon Rodriguez, directed by Jonathan Liebsman, who is not the best director overall. I mean, granted, he did do Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which wasn't that bad of a movie compared to some of his other films. But then again, you would expect this from the same director who did Darkness Falls. And I think this actually was the last thing he did. No, I thought it was, but no, he did not even a movie, but he did the short film of Rings. He also did the Texas Chainsaw Massacre at the beginning, and yeah, okay. This guy is not a great director. His best movie was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He also did Wrath of the Titans, which the sequel that nobody was asking for, but because Clash of the Titans was a success, that's why we got it. This thing sucks. This movie is not a good movie. This is a lousy, lousy film. Terribly put together, badly written, just choppy, horrible visual effects, just a blatant rip-off of District 9, and not in any good way, shape, or form. This movie sucks, plain and simple. And, yeah, this is about as bad as you can get. So, yeah, that's Battle Los Angeles. Let's keep this steaming pile of a weekend continuing with our next movie, and that is Amanda Seyfried in Red Riding Hood.
Where you going?
Your grandmother's. She's in danger.
In daytime, the werewolf returns to its human form.
It's coming.
It's here. Come with me.
What big eyes you have.
Red Riding Hood starts March 11th.
You gotta be kidding me. No, seriously, where's the real movie at? Oh, this is the real movie. Oh my god. Oh, this movie. Talk about the ultimate pathetic attempt to try to rip off Twilight. We even brought in the same director who did Twilight to do this movie, and it's... Oh my god, this movie. Let's talk about this lovely, lovely train wreck of a movie. Amanda Seyfried plays Valerie, a beautiful young woman torn between two men. She is in love with a brooding outsider played by Shiloh Fernandez. I love how the synopsis even has to say, a brooding outsider. It's just like, they didn't even try to cover their tracks into thinking that this isn't going to be a Twilight knockoff, but her parents have arranged for her to marry the wealthy Henry, played by, Max Irons. I thought it was Jeremy Irons for a second, which, considering how stupid this movie is, I wouldn't have put it past him to do that, but... Unwilling to lose each other, Valerie and Peter are planning to run away together when they learn that Valerie's older sister has been killed by the werewolf that prowls the dark forest surrounding their village. Because we gotta bring werewolves into the story of Little Red Riding Hood. This thing is so stupid. For years, the people have maintained an uneasy truce with the beast, so we're ripping off the village too while we're at it, offering the creature a monthly animal sacrifice. But under a blood-red moon, the wolf has upped the stakes by taking a human life. Hungry for revenge, the people call on famous werewolf hunter Father Solomon, played by Gary Oldman, because let's throw in some Van Helsing in there, why not, to help him kill the wolf. But Solomon's arrival brings unintended consequences as he warns that the wolf who takes human form by day could be any one of them. As the death toll rises with every moon, Valerie begins to suspect that the Wolfman can be someone she loves. As panic grips the town, Valerie discovers that she has a unique connection to the Beast, one that exorbitantly draws them together, making her both suspect and paid. Oh my god, this is one of the stupidest movies I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, this movie is awe-inspiring, how bad this is. This is one of the most pathetic, lazy attempts to try to bring Twilight into anything. This movie is the prime example of what happens when you try to copy a trend and you fail miserably at it. This movie is exactly that. This is literally the definition of a film that refuses to take its... is like, the way you gotta do this, you gotta do this as a parody, or play it straight. Do what the Naked Gun movies do. Like, play the story straight, but don't be afraid to be funny. The problem with this is that they take themselves extremely too seriously. Everything about this movie is so pathetically put together and so badly put together. Like, this movie literally is, hey, Twilight's a success, we want our Twilight success too. And, yeah, we don't have any source materials to actually do this with, so just take a classic story. Red Riding Hood, let's do with that. Like, that's exactly what happens in this movie. Nothing about this movie makes any sense whatsoever. The effects in this movie are terrible. Actors who know better. They know better than to star in garbage like this. Amanda Seyfried has been a good actress. Gary Oldman's a good actor. Virginia Madsen has been great in stuff. Julie Christie. They got Julie Christie for this movie. Like, and this is one of the last things she did. And this isn't written by a hack either. This is written by the guy who wrote the Conjuring movies. David Leslie Johnson. He wrote Aquaman. These are people that are talented. Now, I give Kathleen Harbert credit, but before Twilight, it was proven that she was a good director. She did Lords of Dogtown. She did 13. She did The Nativity Story. The whole idea of the movie is stupid. You're asking these people who know better to dumb yourselves down so that we can have a knockoff of a popular franchise, and the end result is this hilariously bad train wreck of a film that it's not even funny as a guilty pleasure movie. It's just a funny as in, you've got to be kidding me that you spent all this money on this film, this idea right here. This is even worse than Beastly. At least with Beastly, you got a sense that it was Beauty and the Beast. You got a sense that, yeah, they were knocking up with Twilight, but at least in that movie, they were at least trying to do something new and different with it. It didn't work, but it did a whole lot better of a job than this piece of garbage does. Like, this is unbelievably bad. This is ungodly awful. This whole thing is just a colossal failure on every single level. This is, without a doubt, one of the worst movies, not just of this year, but one of the worst movies ever made. Like, this is unbelievably bad, and everyone involved in this should be ashamed of themselves for attaching themselves to this garbage. This is fucking awful, man. This is fucking awful. Just, I think you get the point. Red Riding Hood, avoid this one like the plague. It is that bad of a film. It is garbage. It is a train wreck. It's a colossal failure on so many levels. So, with that said, let's go ahead and end this lovely, lovely week of movies with easily one of the biggest, is the biggest failure on so many levels. A failure so bad that it shut down a major production company that was on the rise after 2 successful movies in the 2000s, but then they went to Mars and it all went downhill from there. Because, according to this movie, Mars needs moms.
You didn't eat your broccoli. No broccoli, no chicken. Milo, is that broccoli? No, that's vomit, but I understand the confusion. I told you to eat that. You're not going to make me eat it now, are you? Isn't a good thing to say. I'm going to go tell her I'm sorry. Mom? No. Let her go! Wait! Let me go! I'm in a spaceship. This is so cool!
I'm just messing with you. you, Ken? What's your handle?
Milo.
How about I call you my bro? Check it.
What is going on?
The fact is, Mars needs moms. So the aliens are stealing them from Earth to raise their own kids.
I should mention that this is based off of a book by Berkeley Breathed, who also gave us Opus and Bill, and he famously said that he did not like the way that the Wish for Wings That Were Christmas special came out. You know, he thought that his characters deserved better, and he wanted nothing to do with that. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be shocked at all if he was behind this movie, because clearly the guy has no idea. Clearly the guy apparently has no idea how to make good materials out of his work, because the one that he did with Opus and Bill works a hell of a lot better than this pile of garbage did. This is a film that is so bad that they shut down their motion capture. Robert Zemeckis' big motion capture production company shut down after this. They were supposed to do a Yellow Submarine movie, and because this movie failed so miserably, it bombed, and they shut this down, and eventually the studio was reabsorbed back into Image Movers, and there was never another motion capture movie made after this, made in this particular style. I mean, we've had motion capture films since then, done much better, but this is the thing that, this is a killer. It's a killer on so many levels. It's a killer for the respect of this company. It was a killer for Robert Zemeckis. It was a killer for Disney, which apparently didn't learn their lesson that maybe stop going to Mars, because every time you go to Mars at the box office, it fails miserably. Because you had this, you had Mission to Mars at the beginning of the century of 2000, and then a year later they said John Carter, which wasn't called John Carter Mars because we got to cover it up so the film can do well, and it still bombed hard at the box office. But at least that one was much better than the other two movies. This right here is the worst of the worst. The story, if you even want to call it that, is a story about a 9-year-old boy named Milo, who sets out to save his mother on Mars after she's abducted by Martians because, as the title indicates, Mars needs moms for their kids, for their alien kids. This is one of the stupidest movies I've ever seen in my life. Like, this isn't Red Riding Hood stupid, where everything about it just fails miserably. The idea is there for something good, but it just doesn't work because the jokes aren't funny, the visuals are terrible, the comedy is bad, the voice work is really pointless. Like, why do we have Seth Green as the main kid? Why is Dan Fogler in this movie? Like, this is another one of those movies that I feel like was involved for several years at Disney, and then Disney needed something to put on in the springtime, so fuck it, put this down. Joan Cusack is in here. Why? Because she's done a lot of other works for us in the past. Tom Everett Scott is in here too. Why? No reason. Mindy Sterling, Frau Farbissina. Why is she in here? We don't know. The chick from Return to Oz is in here. Why is she in here? Again, we don't know. There's just names in here that you know, and like, this thing just doesn't work whatsoever. This is a movie that is so lousy and so lazy at doing something incredible, unique and all that. It takes everything that made The Christmas Carol and The Polar Express and Beowulf work as well as it did, and just completely dismantles it almost immediately. And like I said, it destroyed the career of Simon Wells as a director. Simon Wells was an animation director who did some good stuff back in the day. Like, he did decent stuff like An American Tale, 50 Goes West, Balto, The Prince of Egypt, even stuff like We're Back, A Dinosaur Story. But then he did The Time Machine, he did Mars Needs Moms, and now his career is pretty much dead in the water. Like, he hasn't done anything of noteworthiness since then. And, you know, I mean, he's been basically, I mean, not to say that he hasn't gone away from filmmaking as a whole. He still gets work. He went back over to DreamWorks Animation to work on several films, and he's still working there even as of today. He did Kung Fu Panda 4, he did Ruby Gilman Teenage Kraken, so he's still doing a lot of work there. But considering that this guy was once a respected animation director and somebody that had a bright future ahead of him after all the years he worked at Amblin and then at DreamWorks Animation, the fact that his career came down to, this is the last bit of his career coming down to this pile of garbage, it just goes to show you how far your career goes from there. Because this, like, you thought The Time Machine was the low point of his career, but this is a mess. This is a terrible movie. Badly animated, bad comedy, bad uses of its voice cast, just a complete waste of time and effort, and it lost Disney a shit ton of money at the box office. I mean, this is one of those movies that could kill a studio at this point, but, you know, Disney finds a way, and they did find a way back later on in the year, but, you yeah, overall, not a good movie. This is not a very good film. In fact, far from it. It's a terrible, terrible movie that was the death of motion capture for Robert Zemeckis. And, hey, at least a positive came out of it. It made Robert Zemeckis go back to making movies that actually were of his talents, because he would follow it up with Flight the following year, and then The Walk a couple years later. Since then, not so much. He's gone back kind of down with Welcome to Marwen and The Witches and Pinocchio, and he's kind of back to where he was at this point in time. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you on this one. Mars needs moms. No, Mars needs better movies, and Mars needs to stay the fuck away from Disney, because every time they go there, it's never a good sign. Oh my god, that was one of the worst. That was one of the worst weekends for movies I've ever had to look at on here. Not just for the number of bad movies, but just, not just bad movies, but god-awful movies that failed on every single level possible. And, yeah, that's just a perfect sum-up of the year of 2011 as a whole. I keep talking about it, but that's what this year has been so far. More bad movies than good movies.
So, Eddie Mora, you do know you're a freak.
What if there was a pill that could give you everything you ever wanted?
A tablet a day, and what I could do was limitless. I learned to play the piano. Math became useful and fun. I learned everything, about everything.
Since when do you speak Italian?
How many of us ever know what it is to become the perfect version of ourselves?
You think somebody's watching?
What's the asking price?
12.5.
I'll take it.
Have you asked yourself what you're going to do when you run out?
You'll die.
There's no scenario. You don't work for me.
No scenario. I see 50 scenarios. That's what it does, Carl. It puts me 50 moves ahead of you. Worth the risk? What would you do?
Limitless. This film is not yet rated. In theaters March 18th.
And already we are putting last week behind us and getting to some really good stuff. Welcome to Time About the Movies, where today we are taking a look at the 3 films of March 18th, 2011. And our first movie is, of course, Limitless, which is a thriller about a writer who takes an experimental drug that allows him to use 100% of his mind. As one man evolves into the perfect version of himself, forces more corrupt than he could imagine, mark him for assassination. An out-of-work writer, played by Bradley Cooper's rejection by his girlfriend, played by Abby Cornish, confirms his belief that he has zero future. That all vanishes the day that an old friend introduces Eddie to MDT, a designer pharmaceutical that makes him laser-focused and more confident than any man alive. Now on an MDT-fueled odyssey, everything Eddie's read, heard, or seen is instantly organized and available to him. As the former nobody rises to the top of the financial world, he draws the attention of a business mogul played by Robert De Niro, who sees this enhanced version of Eddie as the tool to make billions. But brutal side effects jeopardize his meteoric ascent. And, true story, I had just seen the movie Sucker Punch the day I saw this film, and Abby Cornish was in that movie too. But unlike Sucker Punch, which we're going to get into next week, this is the far superior movie. This is a film that is right up there with Rango as one of the best movies of the year. And again, the year has not been that good, but a movie like this, talk about a film that just came out of nowhere when I saw it. I went in there not really knowing too much about it, except from the trailers that I saw from it. And when I got out of it, it was just like, wow, this was a really, really good movie. And it works because, A, Bradley Cooper, because, you know, by this point, he was still kind of seen as that douchebag dickhead from, like, Wedding Crashers, and kind of the main lead in The Hangover. But in this movie, he really does get a chance to shine here and show that he's not just a guy who works simply in comedy. He can do other things, and he makes his performance work so well. He's great playing Eddie. Robert De Niro usually gives a very good performance. It's probably one of his best performances he's had in a long, long time. And, you know, this is a movie where he kind of redeems himself after, you know, a bad film like Little Fockers, which really was not up to where he should be. And again, Abby Cornish was just in Sucker Punch, which I've seen that same day. And again, we'll talk about that next time around. But she redeems herself here as well. A lot of people in this movie are very good. I like the idea of the pill. It's a really cool concept overall. The story around it is very well done. Director Neil Berger, who did The Illusionist, does a fantastic job with this visual look of the film. And it never gets boring or makes you tired. You really are convinced into this movie all the way to the very end. Everything about it works. It reminds me a lot of Fight Club, honestly. It's a movie you got to pay attention throughout the course of the film, and has a good payoff at the end, too. I mean, I feel like it's a film that was gonna have that same type of a cult following that Fight Club did. Even though this was a bigger hit than Fight Club was, it did eventually lead to a television series, so I guess it did have more success than Fight Club did overall. But I think Fight Club has had the big... I mean, me personally, I think Fight Club has had the bigger success, even without really spawning any television series and all that. Like, this one is a really good movie. It's a really well-done film, very stylized, very cool, takes you completely by surprise the first time you see it. It's definitely one of the few highlights that 2011 had to offer, and this is a really damn good film. Can't recommend this one enough. Limitless, top-notch stuff. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to kind of another underrated little gem that came out this weekend, and it's another movie that really helped the main actor of it really get his career back on track. Matthew McConaughey in The Lincoln Lawyer.
Attorney Mickey Heller.
Counselor, we had a deal.
It used to be all about the money.
You gonna count it? You just did.
But on March 18th,
No deals, no bargaining. I'm innocent.
it's all about the truth.
You got one client in jail for what your other client did. What you gonna do, Nick?
You know what? I don't trust you. I'm trying to make it right.
The Lincoln Lawyer, rated R, starts March 18th.
Now, unlike Limitless, this wasn't a massive hit overall, but it did eventually go on to spawn a television series, kind of like what Limitless did, and I think it's still on Netflix, if I'm not mistaken. Either that or it just got canceled. No, it's still going on. It's heading into its fourth season. I haven't watched it, so I can't really tell you if it's any good or not, but I have seen this movie. This is based off of Michael Connelly's book of the same name. It stars Matthew McConaughey as Mickey Haller, who's a Los Angeles criminal defense attorney who operates out of the backseat of a chauffeur-driven Lincoln Town Car. He takes on cases of a wealthy client accused of assault. As the trial progresses, Haller uncovers unsettling parallels with the previous case, forcing him to confront ethical dilemmas and hidden truths. Cast also includes Ryan Felipe, Marissa Tomei, Josh Lucas, John Leguizamo, William H. Macy, and Bryan Cranston. And again, it's a film that kind of came out of nowhere. Nobody really knew if it was going to be any good, but not only was it good, but it showed Matthew McConaughey returning to his roots. Everyone looked at Matthew McConaughey at this point as just that goofy, wacky guy who was in those romantic comedies with Kate Hudson. That was pretty much him throughout much of the 2000s, with a couple of exceptions here and there. He would take on a dramatic role here and there, specifically We Are Marshall, where he was really good, but you forget that he began his career as a legitimate dramatic actor. People forget that he was in movies like A Time to Kill, or Dazed and Confused, and Amistad, and U-571. But this was the point where his career really began to go back on track here, and this is where he would eventually go on to become the actor that would eventually win the Oscar 2 years later for Dallas Buyers Club. He's great as Mickey Haller in here. He's very good in here playing this role. The cast overall was great in here. You got a lot of seasoned vets in this movie, not just the people I mentioned, but Michael Pena, Bob Gutton, Francis Fisher, Trace Adkins, Margarita Oliveira, Shea Wingham. Just a terrific, terrific cast in this movie. It's got this nice gritty feel too. This director, Brad Furman, I can't remember what else he did, but he would later go on to do stuff like Runner Runner, The Infiltrator. First thing he did was The Take, which is a movie I've never even heard of, but not bad for your first directorial outing, for your first major directorial outing that people knew you for. The writer of this, John Romano, has done a lot of stuff for like Hill Street Blues. You know, he's a seasoned veteran. He's written for L.A. Law. He's written for Cop Rock, American Dreams, Party of Five. He worked on 24. He's done a lot of stuff that you're very familiar with. And he does a good job of bringing the story to life to the big screen. I mean, it's a movie that really does work. And you know when a studio knows how good of a movie is when they're literally telling you, hey, go see this movie, and if you're not thrilled by it, we'll give you your money back. They did that with... Universal did that a couple years ago with Cinderella Man, which was a movie that did not do well. And they had a thing where it was just like, you know, hey, if you don't like this movie, we'll give you your money back. No questions asked. And most people ended up liking that movie. They did the same thing with this. That's how you know a studio very much is well aware of the type of film that they have here. And this is a film that really does work very well. It doesn't do anything too groundbreaking or new, but it did what it needed to do. It helped Matthew McConaughey get back on track, get back to becoming the actor that his career started off as, and no longer doing these lousy romantic comedies that just didn't work. Here he gets a chance to shine, and he really does make it work. I can't recommend this one enough. The Lincoln Lawyer, must-see film. Must-see film. So overall, we had two really good movies, and our last film may be the least of the enjoyable ones, but it's a complicated one. Let's talk about Paul.
individual that you're traveling with is highly dangerous.
He's evil!
Hey! No! Reese's Pieces! Thank you!
His life's in danger. He needs our help.
You gentlemen seen anything unusual this evening?
Come on.
Break it down, boys.
No, not really.
Yippee! You're on that.
It's broken down. Oh, bring it on.
Yeah, this is a very interesting one here, because like another Seth Rogen movie that came out in 2011, The Green Hornet, I remember coming out liking the film overall, but it's been 14 years since I've really taken a look at this film again, and I hadn't really thought about it all that much. I didn't think it was that great. I didn't think it was something where I needed to go back and see it again, but considering that I was doing it for the show, I decided to take a look at it again, and does it hold up? Well, maybe not as much as I remember it, but let's take a look at it. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost star as these two sci-fi geeks whose pilgrimage takes them to America's UFO heartland. While there, they accidentally meet an alien who brings them on the same road trip that alters their universe forever. For the past 60 years, an alien named Paul, played by Seth Rogen, has been hanging out at a top-secret military base. When he discovers he's been taken prisoner, the space-traveling smartass decides to escape the compound and hop on the first vehicle out of town, a rented RV containing Earthlings Graham Willie and Clyde Goggins. Chased by federal agents, one of them played by Jason Bateman, and the fantastical father of a young woman that they accidentally kidnap, Graham and Clive hatch a fumbling escape plan to return Paul to his mothership. And the movie isn't bad. It's not a bad movie. I remember when I came out of it, I really enjoyed it. But like I said, it's been 14 years since I've seen the film, and honestly, I never really had that urge to go back and watch it overall. I don't think it's a bad movie. It's not even a movie that I would say you shouldn't see. It's a decent film. I don't think it's as great as I first made it out to be, but it was fun for what it was. I mean, I thought it was okay. Simon Pegg and Nick Frost do work off each other very well here. Seth Rogen, you can tell he's having a lot of fun making this movie, but honestly, when you've watched American Dad for the last 20 years and you've seen that alien and Roger on that show, and then they're trying to do the same thing here, if I had to choose between Roger or Paul, I'm obviously going to go with Roger, because American Dad, I think, is just a much better show in general, and the fact that, you know, American Dad has much more enjoyment factor than Family Guy does, and Family Guy's the one that everyone talks about. Nobody ever talks about how American Dad still is funny after 20 years. I mean, that show is not lost to beat whatsoever. But, yeah, like I said, if I had to choose between Roger or Paul, I'm definitely taking Roger for American Dad. But, I mean, the character isn't bad in here, per se. The supporting cast overall isn't bad either. I think Kristen Wiig's pretty good. Sigourney Weaver has a little bit of a good role here. Jason Bateman, Joe Latruglio, Bill Hader, Jeffrey Tambor, Blythe Danner, you know, she was just in Little Fockers 2, and, you know, just like how Robert De Niro had his redemption, she was actually pretty good in here for the little bit she was in. If there was one complaint about the movie, and I think it is my biggest complaint, is that you've got Simon Pegg and Nick Frost, and you're expecting them to have that amazing chemistry they had in Shaun of the Dead or Hot Fuzz, but because Edgar Wright isn't involved in this, I think it really doesn't, that relationship isn't as strong as it was in those two movies. But that's not the fault of the director. Greg Matala, who's made a lot of good movies. Superbad, and the last film he directed was Adventureland, which I thought was a very good film. I think the two of them do a very good job with the screenplay they're given. It felt like this was a film that wasn't really thought out as much as they should have. I really would have liked if they toned down the pop culture references, because it's just like, it's all over the place in here, and it's just like, I mean, to its credit, there isn't a point in the film where any of the dialogue seems forced, or makes you just want to go, oh my god, you gotta be kidding me with this. I mean, I think the movie overall, it's fine. I think it does a good job of what they're trying to do here. The visuals are nice. The motion capture can work on Paul overall. I think the story could have used a little bit more if they hadn't gone for the straight-up pop culture references they throw in there. And if you had somebody on the same writing level as Edgar Wright who can work well with Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. It felt like the pieces were there, and for what they had, it's passable. It's a movie where I would say it's fine, but it's not one I would say you're going to watch it over and over again. Like, it's a film that definitely has not aged well in the last couple of years, but it's a film that I would say it's not bad. It's fine for what it is. It's a decently made film. For a one-time watch, if you just want to see that Simon Pegg and Nick Frost work with an alien played by Seth Rogen, it's fine for what it is, but it's not a film that I would say rush out to see it. If it's playing on TV and there's literally nothing else on, I would say do that, but I mean, like I said, once you've watched it, you've pretty much seen enough of it to say that you're probably never going to watch it again anytime soon. passable, nothing spectacular, nothing amazing. But you know what? Considering what we've had so far to start the year off, a weekend like this is more than fine with me. We needed a weekend like this, big time.
I need a moment for a family meeting. Things between you two have really gotten out of hand. You need to get to know each other.
What?
You need to spend more time together.
What?
For every hour without fighting, you earn mom bucks, which you can trade in for $1 real.
This thing is a gold mine. You better not ruin it for me.
On March 25th.
What are you doing in here?
Mom said you'd pay mom bucks if I drove you home.
We gotta walk.
Get in.
You two will stay here together and work out your differences.
Yes. And don't have anybody over this weekend. Party at my place.
20th Century Fox presents Greg,
We have an opportunity to see things that no other kid has ever seen before.
Rowley,
This is what happens when we go to sleep. I'm never going to sleep ever again.
Fregley,
I'll save that for later.
Holly,
She's an all-star soccer player, has been professional modeling, and was a 6th grade class president. What? I Googled her.
Patty,
Don't make me beat you up again.
Sherrod,
And I'm single.
Manny,
I'm only 3.
and Roderick.
Hear my band?
I think your brother likes her.
Diary of a Wimpy Kid. Roderick rules.
And welcome to Time About the Movies. We are taking a look at the 2 films of March 25th, 2011. It's another one of those weekends, and case in point with our first movie, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Roderick Rules. This is, of course, the second installment of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid series, following the first film, which, as I said before, is up there with one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. To the point where I've never watched any of the sequels. So this is my first exposure to the sequels. And we have the first one here, the first sequel of them, which follows a relationship between, once again, 7th grader Greg Heffley, played again by Zachary Gordon, and his titular older brother Roderick, played by Devin Bostic. We also have characters from the previous movie, including Greg's best friend Rowley, played by Robert Capron, Rachel Harris and Steve Zahn as the parents, and also Peyton List, who's later gone on to have a successful career on the CW, and was also in, what else was she in? She was in shows on the Disney Channel, Jessie, Bunked. Maybe she wasn't on the CW, but she was on Jessie and Bunked. She's become more well-known for those movies in particular, but she's done other things like Cobra Kai, Hubie Halloween, The Inheritance, so she's been in a lot of stuff since then. So, kind of like with how Chloe Grace Moretz was in the first one, here's another rising actress in a movie that will probably be forgotten as soon as she actually makes some good movies after this. Everyone will be better off after they stop making these movies, because this one, I'll say this, it's not as bad as the last movie. It isn't as insultingly bad as the last movie. But it still isn't a good movie. It's a passable movie. For the fan base who loves these books, I think they'll get a kick out of it. I mean, it's not as terrible and as insulting as the first film is. You can tell the effort is being put in here this time around, because they actually have a decent director in David Bowers, whose previous works had included Flushed Away, and he also did Astro Boy. 2 very good movies, in my opinion. And he would go on to continue directing the movies that would follow after this. So maybe there's a chance that these films could get better, but I'm not really putting my money on that in general. I would still say watch the animated movies more before you watch the live action films, but that's just my humble opinion on this. I mean, I like the books. I don't think the books overall work. I like the books for their design works with these character designs, with the like simplistic notebook paper elements. I like that they adapted that into the animated movies that went on Disney Plus. But as far as the live action films go, this one isn't as bad as the other one, but it still isn't a great movie overall. It's a movie that's clearly made for the target audience of the kids who love the books. I know people who love these books and will enjoy these movies no matter what. And this is one where I would say, yeah, I can't really blame you on that one. I mean, honestly, me saying that this is a terrible movie is like me saying Paw Patrol is a terrible movie, or even that Gabby's Dollhouse movie coming up is a terrible movie. It's clearly made for a target audience, and for the target audience, they're going to love it no matter what. So what am I supposed to say to that? just in my personal opinion, though, better than the last one, but still not enough for me to recommend it overall. But, hey, I will gladly take it over the other movie that came out this weekend, and boy, I would rather watch Roderick Rules again before I even think about turning on Sucker Punch one more time.
You're afraid. Don't be. You don't think you're strong enough? Wow. You'll reach your own paradise. Just let go. Your fight for survival starts right now.
I'm gonna escape from here. But I'm gonna be free.
Sucker Punch. Experience it in IMAX.
Yep, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached one of my top 3 worst movies that I have ever seen in my entire life. I've already done a full-on video talking about how much I fucking hate this movie. And it makes sense that Zack Snyder, after making what I think is arguably his best movie as a filmmaker, Legends of the Guardians, which was an animated movie, by the way, follows it up with his worst movie. And honestly, the title Sucker Punch couldn't have been more accurate, because this sucks, and it feels like a punch in the gut when you watch it, because, yeah, it's about as bad as you get. So I'll try to sum this up, since I've already delved into this in greater detail in past videos, but this is Snyder's first movie based on an original concept in which Emily Browning stars as a young woman who's committed to a mental institution, and in order to cope, she envisions the asylum as a brothel and teams up with 4 dancers/prisoners to escape before she gets a lobotomy. As she collects the items she needs to escape, she enters another level of fantasy in which the women become strong, experienced warriors. Each fantasy is a parallel to the events in the brothel. Abby Cornish, Jenna Malone, Vanessa Hudgens, and Jamie Chung portray the other 4 prisoners, imagined as dancers by Baby Doll. Carla Gugino plays Dr. Vera Gorsuch, a psychiatrist who, in Baby Doll's mind, is known as Madame Gorski, a choreographer at the strip club. Oscar Isaac plays Blue Jones, the asylum's orderly, which is in Baby Doll's mind, is the corrupt owner of the brothel. So, let's quickly sum this up, because I have talked about this many, many times before. Everything about this movie is awful. Every single thing. The music is bad. The terrible emo covers. The score is awful. It literally feels like a score straight out of a CW series. I am not even kidding. The visuals are terrible. So much is going on. And you just cannot see what is going on in these movies. Like, Michael Bay would even tell Zack Snyder, tone it down on the visuals, dude. And Michael Bay's Transformers movies later on were known for over-cluttering special effects. But even he would look at this and go like, dude, tone this shit down already. And the big one, Zac Efron. I've got Vanessa Hudgens on my mind because they were together at that point, but like, Zack Snyder has this huge fetish for girls in bondage, and it shows. There are so many shots in this movie with these girls in skimpy bondage spandex clothes with their boobs hanging out, and this is literally Zack Snyder jacking off for an hour and a half to stuff that he did when he was a teenager, a horny teenager. Like, unless these girls start making out, there's nothing you can do to make me like this movie. Nothing at all. And the biggest problem with the film overall, the message, and the fact that they have to show everybody in this movie as a stereotype. Men and this woman are either douchebags, perverts, pedophiles, guys who start incest, stupid. The women in this movie, they're helpless, they don't do shit whatsoever, they act like abused housewives, and the only way they can get through this is by pretending they're not getting horribly raped and beaten, but pretend that they're fighting a gigantic robot monster because it'll make them strong, because this is the way we need to show female empowerment and strong lead female characters, and fuck off with that shit. This movie is everything that is wrong with films like this. Like, this movie is such a joke. It's such an insult to everything that is when it comes to writing good characters and writing characters that you either hate or want to get behind. You do not like anybody in this movie for any particular reason. Like, it's weird, because when I watched this for the first time, the first thought was, because I was watching the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, and that's an animated show made specifically for little girls, and that show had better written characters than this movie did. A show about 6 ponies was better than a big-budget blockbuster by the director of Watchmen and 300. Just think about that for a second. Really think about what I just said. That is pretty pathetic. And the worst part about it is that Warner Brothers basically gave him Superman for this particular reason. Not because he had never seen Superman before or wanted to make Superman Batman so much, but let's be honest. They gave it to him because they were in desperation mode, because they had to get a Superman movie in production by this year, 2011, or they were going to lose the rights. That's been well documented out in the world of the internet. That's been well out there for years now, so nobody better come out there and tell me, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. No, that's exactly what happened. And this is the result of that. This is the result of that. Warner Brothers looked at this movie and said, this movie speaks to us. This should be the guy that should bring Superman back for a new generation. And look at what we got after that. Just think about what we got from that because of this pile of garbage. I've talked in depth about this in the video that I'll put up in the corner, but if you want to go read my full thoughts on that, it's right there. But this is a terrible movie. It killed Zack Snyder for me. Like, it was the movie that basically said, okay, this guy has completely lost his mind. And again, it's funny how his best movie was the Owl movie, and that was the last thing he did 6 months before this. And now he starts off this horrible trend of movies that begins with Sucker Punch. It's unbelievably bad. It is ungodly awful. Avoid this one like the plague. Like, seriously, this is one of those ones where I would say, avoid this one like the plague. Avoid it like it's a zombie and it's coming to attack you. Chop off the head and never think about it ever again, or don't even see it at all. Like, what was that horror movie? That terrible horror movie, The Bye-Bye Man. Don't say it. Don't think it. Don't even watch it. Like, you get the idea. Sucker Punch is a piece of shit.